Welcome back to Dirt and All, episode 2. We're here with Scott Lidster, Australian Earth Training. Scott, thanks for fitting us into your busy schedule.
Oh, dude, really happy to be here and appreciate the invitation. Yeah.
Yep,
sure.
no, mate, good to have you on. We're here with Woodsy again, back, DGI Trading.
G'day.
How's your weekend, Woods?
Not too bad.
That's right.
Bit of work.
Yeah, very good.
Done.
Mate, look, one of the first, we'd followed you for a while on social media, and you're here, there, and everywhere. You seem to know everybody. How?
Very lucky. Very lucky. You know, like you kick around the traps long enough, and you know, you get exposed to different things along the way, and it's just that connection of people, right?
Yep.
At its center, that's what it is.
Yep. Yep.
That's what I really enjoy about what I get to do.
Yep.
Is you're always meeting someone different. They've got a story. The amount of things that I can pull out of a training session that I get to pass on to the next training session is crazy. Like I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I can assist people to get where they need to be. So yeah.
And I know you've talked to Luke and the guys at DGI in a components related fashion, but I first found you on social media.
Yep.
When you're doing these training sessions, are you gaining a lot of followers each time that mightn't already be aware of you? Or you?
It's hard to gauge. I never get into the analytics.
Yep.
Of like Instagram as far as out and out followers is our strongest. I find Facebook an absolute dog of a platform.
Yeah.
Don't really care what goes on there, like without being flippant about it.
Yep.
LinkedIn is by far our biggest money maker. Like that's where that B2B happens. That's where you interact with a decision maker. The reasoning to get on Insta originally was to try and get into the minds and the eyes of the next wave of decision makers.
Yep. Yep. Well, we were just having a quick chat before this started, and that's very much,
next generation.
Yeah. That's the reason why we're sitting in this room today.
Legit, mate. Honestly, like I don't even think we've won a job or got a job off of Instagram.
Yep.
But I like the creative side of it. But to answer your question, mate, I don't get into the analytics, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you see the numbers ticking up, and for whatever it means, we've got, north of 70,000 followers, and we're, very appreciative of it.
Yep.
No doubt there's a few bots kicking around in there, so you try not to get too carried away with it,
as
right?
well, yeah.
So, just a bit of fun, yeah.
We've been following your adventures over the last few days. You've been up and down the coast. You've been at Diesel Dirt and Turf as well.
Yep. Caught up with Buddy at Diesel Dirt and Turf, and he had me shaking like a dog shitting razor blades about coming in here. Like, but he put me at ease before. But yeah, went down to DDT. Only spent a few hours down there. Just bumped into a few people. I think it's great what they're doing down there. If Australia had the numbers of some of the other countries, we'd have
massive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But for what they do and how they present it, I think they do a fantastic job.
Yeah, I've never been personally. Have you?
No, I haven't.
It's something because construction sized equipment, and I don't know if we should even go into this, but we participated in Amex recently, and it's something that we've ummed and ahed about in the past, and I like that. In a sense, when you look at Diesel Dirt and Turf, it's just a better looking show. Amex to me just doesn't. I don't know.
No, it doesn't have the. Yeah.
Probably showing me age a little bit here, but Amex back in the 90s, and I don't know the history of it. Maybe it was an 80s thing too. I'm not quite sure, but in the 90s, dude, it was the cat's ass.
I think
COVID down there, right?
might have had something to do with that as well. I think when it sort of took everything away and things sort of struggled to get back to full capacity again, maybe.
So the OEMs aren't supporting, or
no OEMs.
Not really. No,
I think the GFC really hit them.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, when that come in. Yeah, pre 08, it was a
it was a thing.
It was a thing, and then it
absolutely
slowed right down.
Yep.
So
yeah.
When you're not on the road for industry-related events, what do you get up to on the weekend? Who's Scott Lidster at home?
Wow. So I've got 3 daughters.
Yep.
20, nearly 21, 18 and 15, and they keep me very grounded.
Yeah.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
We're lucky, my wife and I, we got 3 good kids that are growing into good adults. So.
I figured you had a daughter I saw recently. I think you had a bit of Pantera overlaid over the top of someone reversing a Corolla up the driveway.
Correct. Yeah. So that's our middle girl. Like, it's I don't know, man. She loves that little Corolla.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, whatever death metal I can get my hands on, I'll whack it on. So it was cool. A couple of weeks ago, we we got a dozer that we bought last year, and it kind of runs parallel to the training business. And the dozer was in a position on a property where someone could have a spin on it.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
And as a dad, like I remember going to work with my dad doing similar stuff. You know what I mean? So for someone to have a crack at a busted ass old D11R,
Nice.
I think she was happy, but man, I was like, how good's this?
This is what I want. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I was lucky back in the day before things are the way they are now around WHSE and that sort of stuff. I was able to jump into a D10R, I believe. It scared the shit out of me. It was well, I jumped in I think a 785 we had out the back, and you see this huge truck and you think, oh, this thing's going to be scary. It's like driving a Corolla. I used to drive a Corolla, so I know all about that model of Corolla. Same colour, everything. But the dozer was completely different.
So this is fair income. So my old man, without getting into the backstory too early, but my old man was an operator, right? So when I was, we worked and moved around as you do when you're in construction. Yep. And at the time, the old man, we were living at Freeman's Waterhole Caravan Park, and the old man was working on that section of road just between Freeman's and Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
So he was working for Abby's. He was running a 375 on the day that me and my mate were cruising past on our pushies, and you could just walk down on the job. So the old man got myself and my mate Adam Schneller, put us in the cab, and we're cruising around with the old boy. For that to happen now,
Just doesn't.
And I think to a fault, it's kind of it's hindered the industry. And I know, workplace health and safety is a thing, but I think maybe it's getting a lot harder.
Definitely a lot harder,
dude. For people to get hooked, podcasts are a fantastic thing. Like the socials are a fantastic thing for a young person that may or may not know what the bloody hell they want to do. Having that ease of access to a site has just hindered things a little.
Yeah. Well, I think the first time I got thrown in a car, I was about 12 up at a friend's farm driving through the paddock, on Dad's lap. I don't know, if
sitting
all
in
kids,
a bulldozer.
Yeah, I don't know if all kids these days even get the opportunity to do that,
Yeah, and it's lacking that sort of.
It is, man. It is.
And what about the training facilities they have now with equipment in there? Yep. Is that freely accessible to everyone?
I find, Woodsy, there are some training providers, and it's largely around accredited training, so your RIIs, etc. So to give you an example, up in Brisbane, there's a mob called Major Training. So Major will have a backhoe, a digger, a small OHT, a rigid off-highway truck. But it's to gain the qualification. Correct.
Can't just bring a young fella along for the Saturday morning, and
that's probably right. You know, and more to the point, to have a facility like a Tanaha or an Edwards that Caterpillar have in the States, where people can come along and refine their craft. We just don't have that in Australia.
What do they have there?
So Caterpillar and Komatsu do as well.
Yep.
So the two notable ones in North America anyway are Tanaha training facility in Tucson, Arizona. And it's something like bloody, 2,000, 5,000 hectares. So they've got the training facility here, and then they've got their proving ground there.
Oh, okay.
And stone's throw apart.
It's owned by Cat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And they've got Edwards, which is up in Illinois.
Yep.
Edwards, I've never been to Edwards, been to Tanaha a couple of times, but Edwards is a pretty cool facility where they've got this rotating grandstand. But more to the point, they can bring customers onto those facilities and train them, whether it's the latest tech, whether it's around, how to load a bucket efficiently, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
It's there.
Yeah, you might not be able to take a young fella out and just throw him in a dozer these days, but there's enough apps out there like the farming simulator, excavator driver simulator. It's actually pretty crazy the amount of simulator games that you can get out there. Not then you look at the other end of the spectrum, young kids that are gamers that have these setups at home with multi-screens and
joysticks there.
Yeah, so at least there's other inroads for young fellas to get interested anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, bloody oath.
Just on the note of Pantera, I also saw recently that you were at a concert. You're from up the Sunshine Coast.
So we live in Brisbane.
Yep.
Live music is that was a goal for me this year, was to see more of it. You know what I mean? I just love it.
What do you listen to in the car? What do you listen to?
Oh, it's pretty eclectic.
Yeah.
Like old country.
Yep.
a little bit of folk stuff, like a little bit of Pantera, like a bit of
Fair
Metallica
difference
coming
there.
up. Like, I just to stay in the lane, I don't see a lot of sense in that.
Yeah.
I either like it or you don't, right? So,
Yep.
lucky that the girls have got a similar bloody approach to music, and right now our youngest girl, like, mate, the music she listens to like blows my mind,
Yep.
and I'm like, you need to send me that link.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, live music, I love it. A little bit of mountain biking. Not that I've done a lot in recent months through weather and travel, blah blah. But I dig that, and I like watching Supercross, motocross.
Couple of good Aussie boys at the
Dude,
helm at the moment, aren't
yeah,
they?
they're doing well, man. They're representing, and like the story in behind that family is quite incredible. Like it. Like not a lot in life is easy, and what they chose to do, probably, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. I don't pretend to know their backstory that well, but 5 or 10 years ago to move to Europe and then go to the States and do pretty good at their trade is, mate, it's a story.
It's great, yeah.
Absolutely.
A couple of Aussie guys. That's
Bloody
really,
oath.
If I had a child and they said, look, we want to get into like motocross, you'd want to make sure you earn a good dollar. Like the costs involved with
There's a couple of overtime shifts involved with that.
Yeah. And the insurance policy to go with it.
Before we jumped in here, you were talking podcast too. What do you listen to in the car? What else? A bit of footy?
Oh, look, so I reckon my go-to podcast is Mark Boris.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. The mentor or the...
Mate,
He's got the two.
Yeah, he's got the two. What's the other one? It's not the mentor, it's the other one. I was listening to a Paul Roos one coming up, but Mark Boris is a tremendously successful businessman.
Man, he's excellent to listen to as well. Like his personality,
Mate.
you look at who he is and what he's achieved versus the bloke he is to chat to on the mic.
Unbelievable. Like, he could be that bloke down the pub in my eyes. His language that he uses.
Well, I was watching an episode. I was listening to an episode, and he was talking. They asked him about how he'd done business deals with Kerry and James Packer.
Yeah.
And I think they'd bought Aston Martins, and he just got rid of it because he didn't want to. It was too flash for him, and he drives I think like a 2020 model Hilux with 2 dog cages on the back. And he's just
cool.
Yeah.
I think Uncle Nick from the Roosters
Yeah.
may have tipped him into that. But either way,
Yeah.
he drives a Tojo.
Yeah.
I've got to recommend. I've got a recommendation. I listened to the new Backstage with Matty and Cooper Johns.
Yep.
He's on that. They've done an episode with him. Really good listen.
Okay.
Yeah, good listen.
Yeah. And like from an industry perspective, I love listening to Mac Plovey's podcast. He gets some really, really cool.
Have you been on a couple of times on there, or was it just the one?
Yeah, I've done a couple of times with Mac. Yeah, we did a bit of a backstory thing, training thing, and then we did a ripping technique podcast.
That's the one I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. But Mac's doing some great things, like
Mac, if you're listening to this, we listen to your podcast, and I feel like every guest we reach out to, you've already had on. So we've got big shoes to fill out there.
You better teach Scotty how to rip with his D11 ripper problem.
Yeah, Jesus, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, so I saw a video on your story, and you were ripping some pretty serious rock.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to Luke about you coming on, and he said that you'd been in touch chasing a new ripper time. You'd obviously
dude, so yeah, it's bizarre, this material, but anyway, long story short, it knocks the dozer around, etc. Anyway, how I knew that something wasn't right, I ripped up against the wall and I was just pulling away, so I was just like idling back into it, and something hit my knee, and I'm like, what the fuck's that? And I looked up and the cassette head
Dropped out.
And I'm like, well, it does a bit of rattling.
Yeah.
Probably due for that. And then I look back, next minute, don't have a pick. That's
Snapped off clean.
It snapped off, Woodsy, but everyone that has seen it has never seen a pick open up like it. It didn't snap horizontally. It actually, I'll show you, it looks like a boomerang, man. It actually peeled. And then when we got it back to the yard, there was a bit of a...
You struck diamonds up there.
Bro, I've got no idea.
Is it genuine?
It was, genuine, brother.
Yep.
Genuine. So, yeah, hence the reason I got on to Lukey down here at DGI to see what he had kicking around. But, yeah, that's the joys of.
Only machines, isn't it? Right. Hey, maintenance.
So that's like your most current sort of venture what you're doing now, the D11. Let's go back to the beginning.
Yep.
So you started your career, was it with Hastings, or did you, when you got into the industry in training in the earth moving sector, how did you start? Take us back to the beginning.
Yeah, right. So I kind of touched on how the old boy was in the game, right? So Dad was a shearer that ended up getting into earth moving. So we lived out in the central western New South Wales. The old boy ended up coming over to Raymond Terrace and getting an opportunity with a mob called Green Tree McFan. So anyway, that was the game. Fast forward, I went through school. We moved to Queensland. I was happy not doing a great deal and trying to learn how to surf. And what happened was the old man, for some reason, I can't remember what happened, I needed to take him to work for like 2 or 3 days. So at the time, the old boy was just sitting on a compactor, which I don't think he really enjoyed that much. So every day I'd drop him off, right, and he'd go, oh, you want to come and learn this thing? And I'm like, no, man, I don't really want to. I want to go learn how to surf, actually.
Did you learn how to surf?
No. Yeah, brah.
You look like a surfer.
So probably on the 3rd day, I was starting to get the shits with him asking, and he's like, do you want to learn? And I'm like, yeah, fuck right, I don't know dramas. So anyway, the old boy threw me on it, and I shit you not, mate, I didn't see him for the rest of the day. He probably went to the tab, right? So I'm sitting.
You just heard his wage for the day.
100%. Yeah. I'm, it's like that, little kid that gets left on the side of the road or something. I'm looking over, going, Dad's going to come back soon. And that was the start, mate. The person that Dad was working for at the time was a guy called Barry Watson. You might have heard of Barry's dad, Herbie Watson.
Herbie Watson.
Herbie Watson was an absolute legend through the 60s and 70s, large tractors. Worked a lot for the Sydney Water Board. So Dad worked for Herbie back in the late 70s. So now Dad was working for Herbie's son Barry.
As well.
Yeah. And I got a job just through that. Like I ended up staying on that 825. And looking back, that machine taught me so much, about like dirt and how to work dirt and, just having the ability to run up and down a fill, like boring as batshit, but it give you the opportunity to
get
take
your levels
but to take in your environment, mate.
Yep.
Oh yeah, what's going on over there? And I've always been one of those people to ask questions. So through running the compactor, if the compactor went down, I'd go and talk to a digger operator.
Yep.
And mate, again, like tremendously fortunate that a lot of good people give me a lot of their time. And from there, you pick up stuff. And then once you're hooked into moving dirt, it's a thing. You know what I mean? Like when I was younger, the big jobs, everyone was always chasing the big jobs and the big money and all that sort of shit. And I did that for a little bit. And then so I went from civil, then I got a work and holiday visa and went to Canada. And I lived in Canada for 15 months working for like Shoreway Construction.
Yeah, sure. They're big. Yeah.
Bloody oath. Yep. There's a couple down in Calgary, like bloody roadways. Worked for Chief Construction, who were, pretty big at the time. So did that, and then I ended up meeting my future wife. She's a Canadian girl. She came back with me, and we went up to Gladstone and did a job with Thies, a dam job.
Yep.
And then from there, our first daughter was coming online, and I thought I don't really want to drag my kids around like that happened to me, rightly or wrongly.
Yep.
So I thought I'll get in the mines. So yeah, come back down the valley, started working with Thies at Mount Owen. Worked there for 7 years and could never see myself as a career miner. Like I was working with guys that had been doing it for 30 years and just, driving up that New England highway, I was doing me nut in. But the good thing about Mount Owen, it was a great place to work at, don't get me wrong. It just, that wasn't for me. But the good thing about Mount Owen was I was able to get into training there and, train clean skin truckies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and bring them through.
Bring them through, mate.
And they put you through your tickets, like your trainer assessors and stuff, or not?
I did that myself. I did
cool.
that myself, mate. There was a bit of government, as there is now, there was a bit of government money around vet training.
Yep.
And Cert 4 in training was one of them. Did that. My boss at the time, she was fantastic. Look, we had a really good program.
Yep.
So again, learning so much. But like I said, I just got the shits with work and shift work and all that sort of jazz. So pulled the pin on that, took a voluntary redundancy, and then got back into civil. And funnily enough, my brother at the time moved back to Brisbane, and I said, "Oh man, I see this Hastings Deering bloody thing on whatever platform. You should give it a crack." Yeah, no drama. So anyway, my brother Elton applied. And at that stage, I was keen to stay in training, although I was operating a dozer for a civil fella down Newcastle. I thought, what I'll do, at the time, Tomago was just being built. I thought, I'll hang here, I'll hang around, and I'll throw my hat in the ring if there's jobs going.
Yep.
But it was just, I don't know, it just wasn't happening fast enough. And I thought, stuff it, I'll give this Hastings Deering thing a crack. And started off talking, everything's going great, and they went cold for 9 months.
Yeah, right.
Right.
We were camping at 1 Mile Beach.
Yep.
And I gets his phone.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was mint.
Good spot.
Yeah, we were camping up there, and gets a phone call. And it's from Hastings. They want to take up the conversation again. So long story short, mate, ended up going for an interview, got the job, and like tremendously appreciative of my time at Hastings. You know, like I learned a lot. There was a lot of that time at Hastings. It was more about validating a lot of the stuff that I knew and then the techniques that I'd been shown and since it had adopted.
Yep.
And
so that was operator training at the time.
Yep.
Because then, you know, in some of the research we've done, you're doing a lot more of the familiarization training there as well. And that's more about the operation of the machine, the technologies, that sort of thing as well.
Kind of, yeah. Yep. So for mill training is, you know, you get a new piece of iron and we'll come onto your site and we'll show your operators what's new from old. You know, what are the features, what are the benefits.
So an OEM will give you the latest and greatest tools and techniques to teach, or you figure them out on a, you know, D11T, don't crash into this bloody wall.
Look, you know, without throwing shade against Big Yellow, there's a lot of things that I'd assumed would go on that doesn't go on.
Yep.
And there's times where a new product had come out and for whatever reason there was a lag on training, you know, some of the people with inside the four walls. So there was an element of catch-up at different times, not all the time, at different times. So, you know, the onus comes back to the individual, to the trainer.
Yeah.
Like I soon worked out if I wasn't networking within the walls of HD, Hastings Deering, and if I wasn't networking within the walls of Caterpillar, I'm going to lose out.
Yeah.
Because the information just doesn't arrive in your inbox.
Because, you know, technology is evolving fairly continuously.
Yeah.
Like that was one of my questions here. Like how has the challenge been in keeping, you know, abreast of new tech as it rolls out with each release?
Yeah, look, that is a challenge.
Yep.
I'm lucky to have some good relationships with inside the dealerships, not only here in Australia, but, you know, in different parts around the world. And, you know, it's not an open license. Like people with inside the system, they have a responsibility not to share what they can't share. And I respect that. I totally respect that. So again, the onus is on us to try and, you know, do the best we can. So last year I was lucky enough to go over to the States, do Con Expo. While I was there, I went down to Tanaha. They've got a training facility over there. I paid some money to, like, the payment wasn't a bribe. You could pay like $400, I think it was, and they would give you access to different machines.
So you got a receipt. There was
is the Australian tax office watching this? Of course, I got a receipt.
No. USA. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a big onus on us to put our best foot forward, right?
Yeah. So then, how long were you there at HD for?
I was there for nearly 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly 7 years, and you know that. There was a period of time where there was, you know, there's dips, man. There's dips in the market, whether it's GFCs, whatever. And at the time, Hastings offloaded a lot of people, and in the end, I was sort of getting the shits myself. And in the end, I got sick of blaming other people. So without boring you with the backstory, I ended up resigning, and I'd always had a hankering to do the training thing and have a crack on my own, right? So
you didn't have a plan; you just had an
idea.
vision, an idea, and just went. Yeah.
Well, yeah, kind of, right. So one of my good mates, he's been in business for 25 years. Like we went to school together, and my mate Barber, he was always banging on to me, mate. You got to do a business plan. You got to do a business plan. And I'm like, man, really? And I'm glad that I did, because number one, that template that I used was asking questions that I wasn't thinking about, right? So there's a lot of value in doing that. And anyway, I did my bloody business plan, and I got one of my other good mates to read it and to provide feedback. And Anton says to me, he goes, yeah, it looks pretty cool. This is within like half an hour. And he bounces back Australian Earth, and he bounced this business model, and I'm thinking, what the bloody hell is this?
It's pre-scripted.
Mate, crazy, right? All I knew was I wanted to be a trainer,
Yep.
and I wanted to train in business. But Anton said, and so what Anton showed me was a potential cluster company. So we have a brand, Australian Earth, and we have, training. So it was going to be my job to go out and grow the brand, et cetera, et cetera. And then we bring in like a HR partner, bring in like a mechanical partner, blah, blah. So that was going to be the model. Anton had to dip out because his mum got crook, which is totally fine. And I just pushed on with Australian Earth. So our first job was over in Saudi Arabia. So I got an inbox from a GM in Saudi.
How was that? Was that LinkedIn? Was that
LinkedIn? Yeah. Yep. I'm telling you, for all the boys and girls out there watching this, Insta's cool and whatever, but double down on LinkedIn. Create, get a part of a community, create a community, and do your thing. Yep. Again, I don't profess to understand the finer details of it, but it has been extremely powerful. Like Australian Earth wouldn't be here without it.
Yep.
Because there's the stuff that just arrives in your bloody inbox.
Yeah.
Not by design. So anyway, gets the call from old mate, says, this is what we do. You want to come over? And I'm like, yeah, sounds great. And man, I was shitting bricks. Everything that we hear about the Middle East is probably not positive.
Yep.
And I vividly remember the day that I was flying over to Riyadh. I had my 3 daughters, my wife, and my mum. We live in a cul-de-sac, and they're up at the house, and I'm thinking, Christ, is this the last time I see me kids, right? Weird.
You just had that picture in your mind.
I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And dude got over there, and a phenomenal trip, phenomenal people. That particular site had 23 nationalities working on it. Yeah. Man.
You hear that quite a lot. You see that, even recently watching Aaron Witt's stuff when he'd been over there, he had a lot of the same sentiment saying, when you live in this sort of Western media bubble, you're just given this idea that we're supposed to, it's not like that.
Yeah, look, and again, without getting into the weeds on this, the narrative, it's not good, right? No. But, and I'm not saying that there's not rat bags in the region at all. I just didn't meet them.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel threatened. The biggest fear that I had was being in the car with one of them, because you get in the car.
Have you seen the videos of the Land Cruisers drifting up on 2 wheels?
So crazy, aren't they?
This is how it went for me, right?
Did they do that?
No, thank Christ. So anyway, did the travel, gets to me last stop. It's a little place called Arar, which is up near the Iraqi border. And it's a regional bloody airport by every stretch. That's right. And it's dark. It's like 10 or 11 at night, and everyone's peeled off the plane, got to the carousel, grabbed their bags, and I'm the last dude there. And my phone didn't work. It's dark. There's no one around. I'm thinking, here we go. Next minute, here comes a bloke, full bloody Middle Eastern dress, and I'm thinking, shit out. He gets a bit closer and he starts talking. And I said that he kind of said the company's name, and I said the company's name again. He goes, yeah. And I said, do you have a paper? And he goes, bang. And yep, you're me man, good dude. But I was that tired getting out of Arar, and I watched him pull into these satellites, and mate, it is jockeying for P1. Satellites, mate. Honestly, everyone just peels out.
Yep, go for it.
Look left, look right, and whoever flinches, you've lost.
Yep.
And I'm glad that I crashed out, because we had to travel like 3 hours. And when I woke up, we were on a dirt road, and I could see in the distance the glow of the preparation plant. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm in the right spot here. But that was my biggest fear. Everything else was kosher.
Crossing the border into Iraq.
Oh, yeah, we were south of, which was good. Went through a couple of checkpoints to put the wind up you, but it's, like I say, mate, it's just.
Yeah. Do they run RH120s?
That
60-30s?
That particular place does.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, thought so. Yeah.
Correct.
So you've come back from over there, and then you've got, obviously a good bit of experience, bit international, international contract under your belt now.
Yeah.
What have you done when you've hit the ground back in Australia?
Yeah, okay. So that was the first, and when that happened, you just think, oh, well, we're away. Yep. And we really weren't. So I got approached by a mate, one of my good mates, who was working for a mob, McNay's, up on the Gold Coast there. And he goes, oh, would you mind, would you think about sitting on one of their dozers? And I went, bloody oath. And like it was so good for a lot of reasons, mate. Like number one, it enabled cash flow.
Yep.
Number two, I was getting in front of different bloody customers. And Steve knew that my primary business was a training business. And he said, mate, when you got to go, you go.
Yep.
And I'm telling you right now, without that, I'm not here.
That assistance, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then from there, it just started to self-perpetuate. Like,
did you advertise much, or was it all just referrals and word of mouth at that point?
Yeah, it was all referrals, mate. And again, on the back of the LinkedIn community.
Organic content.
Absolutely, yeah.
Putting it out there.
Well, I didn't get onto Instagram until like 2018, I think it was. So it wasn't, I just knew that I had to do it, you know. But yeah, just come through the front door at LinkedIn, and then you start, you know, like we still do work for Hastings Deering now, and we do work for a dealership over in Africa. So once you start getting those relationships, and you know, you can put up a pretty picture of going through some airport or whatever it is.
Yep.
It kind of creates its own little bit of interest.
Validates your sort of, you know, level of proficiency as well, in a way.
Yeah, kind of, mate, because it's like a bloody game of sport, like football, whatever. You're only as good as your last training session, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the fact that we get to get around the joint a little bit, if you're not providing value, you're not coming back.
So if Hastings Deering wanted you for a day, what would that day involve for a client? Like, one of their clients coming to you, you got 6 trainers there, or?
Oh, typically Woodsy, because the assets are already on site.
Yep.
I'll fly
on the actual site. Yep.
That's right, mate. Yep. Yeah. I'll fly up to, you know, say Mackay, and then travel out to the mine.
Yep.
You know, I was in Claremont there a couple of weeks ago, so I went out for 4 days. So you just roll up. You either, you know, I'm not a massive PowerPoint person.
Yep.
However, there's times where having a PowerPoint's good. If that's not required, mate, we're straight out on the iron.
Hands on.
Yeah, walking around it. Like, you know, for the most part, mate, we get serial number changes, and there's little bits that change, but to sit an adult down in a class and, you know, go, that switches that, mate, let's get out of here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way.
When we were trying to tee this up, you mentioned you're off to PNG soon.
Yep.
PNG, Africa, Saudi Arabia. I'm going to ask both you blokes this question. Who thrashes their gear the hardest?
Ooh, damn. Who thrashes
All
their
I can
gear?
see is a Land Cruiser up on 2 wheels with some, you know, guys in the traditional clothing hanging out the windows, but maybe I'm wrong.
Inside the component, from my perspective, it's probably Kentucky, West Virginia.
Yeah, right.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Like, run to fail is a strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, you'll go to some places and you'll look at something and you go, how is that still turning? Like, I was in Liberia.
Yeah.
And they got some assets there that it just blows your mind that there's still soot coming out the stack. But there's a strategy there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I've seen some pretty gnarly stuff throughout Africa.
Well, you've seen in your own rear vision mirror with your ripper time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what am I talking about?
Yeah.
Touche.
Oh, no, look, it just interests me, and I see the places where DGI goes and buy surplus equipment. I've seen the state of some of the stuff that comes in the backyard here to be dismantled, and it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, sometimes like that African equipment gets bashed around like it's just they don't have the maintenance facilities in those hard-to-reach areas, is what I see.
Yeah, that's probably a fair call, Woodsy, you know.
West Virginia, Kentucky, was like the bash it out as much as you can get till it breaks.
Yeah, right.
And that's where the outside of the equipment looked fine.
Yeah.
But the internals was, they've
got a story to tell.
They got life. It's full life.
What are you up to in PNG?
Doing some grader training.
Yep.
Heading up to one of the islands up north. They've got some 18 graders, and like, you know, the 16s, now the 18s, they've had historic drama, and a lot around that particular grader is misunderstood of the machine, right? Like, you know, everyone, like when the M series came out, it was being compared to a G and a H, like, and they are two, like that G and H versus an M series, or now the 16, they're two different animals, man. Yeah. You cannot run a 16M or a 16 like you could a G or a H.
Right.
End of.
Yeah, right.
So with the 16Ms, you run them higher up in the RPM.
Yep.
Well, we say don't get beneath 1,000 RPM. Because if you start lugging them, they get these mad torque spikes back through the tranny, and you start popping trannies, right? Hence the reason they've created these underspeed software. What's his name, to try and once the RPMs get to 575 RPM, the machine will neutralise.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, to try and offset that big moment.
So when I have a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, to this day, that's one of the things that that most customers are trying to offset with the M series, along with or the 16, along with how to form up a road. Again, for the most part, that kind of training happens on a mine site, so we're not looking for plus or minus 5 mil.
That's right.
It's form a crown, get a bloody super elevation. Just to try and educate, because you only know what you know.
Because they'll stuff a haul road like...
Oh, mate.
Hey?
The inherent conditions of that country is bloody tough.
Yeah.
Like up at Octedi, the first time I went to Octedi, mate, they said, we get 10 metres of rain per annum. 10 metres of anything's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
What's the smallest bit of gear and the biggest bit of gear that you guys are training with?
Currently, smallest, bloody hell... Oh, I don't know, mate. I got an inquiry the other day from a church group up at Kingaroy about doing some D6 stuff, right? So we're not.
So you don't get a call from a bloke on the weekend who's just picked up a digger from Kennards to use and say, "How do I use this thing?"
Not yet. Nah.
Yeah.
And the largest currently, I think the boys are doing some 60-60 stuff up in the territory.
Yeah. Have they got auto dig as well? Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
What's that in title? Like, I know that new 9600 Liebherr's got.
Yeah, no, the Liebherrs have the 60-60s don't. Sorry.
No, okay. Yeah. It's an extra $1 million.
No way.
For auto dig.
I don't know what the strategy is behind it. I know, in loaders, they've had auto dig for a little while.
Yeah.
You press the button and it just racks it back.
Yeah. Puts it in the right position, does it? Or
yeah, I guess. The thing about that though, it depends on what your material's doing beneath you too, right?
Hundreds.
We're not always loading, fairy floss. So I don't know if it starts to feel resistance and then starts to crowd, or does it come?
Is it a weight thing? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
Yep.
But in the right conditions, I could see it being tremendously successful. Yeah, for sure.
Are you seeing, you're pulling different bits of strategies from around the world, like Woodsy, you mentioned about applications earlier of mining excavators?
Yeah, like face shovel to a backhoe.
Yeah.
Like, what makes that decision of that mine site to go, we're going to run face shovels here?
Oh, God.
What is the most productive?
Yeah, look, it's...
you know what Australia is? It's all backhoes.
Yeah, but that's East Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast, it's shovel city.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I know the commodity's different. A hydraulic shovel will enable, once the shot goes bang, you can just start ripping in.
Yep.
Some places will do it with a backhoe configuration. They'll have to set up a bench or whatever, right? A backhoe probably gives you a little bit more. What's the right bloody word? You can use it in different spots, right? Versus an electric shovel, which requires a lot more infrastructure
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it'll bang out BCM pretty good.
Yep.
So you look at your life of mine and kind of work it backwards from there. And a lot of the times too, mate, it comes back to a superintendent or a mine manager's preference, because that machine worked well here.
Yes,
it's going to work well here.
Yeah.
And the design, I suppose, what benches you got to have.
What benches? There's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
And that's why most OEMs, most OEMs will have a specialist that works in that space to be able to guide.
Yep.
Customers around
from a greenfield mine.
Yeah, greenfield, absolutely, mate. Yep,
Yeah,
bloody oath. Because once the infrastructure's in there, they just roll with it.
You have to,
the incumbent. So
holistically, so you started Australian Earth in 2017, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
What's been the biggest challenges, holistically, in just moving from an employee to a business owner? What have you found the most challenging about that?
I guess bringing on people.
Yep.
Because an individual's ability to make $1 has got a ceiling on it. And I didn't start the business to make millions, and we will probably never make millions. But when the interest increases, you got to find good people.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly one of those people that just don't want to throw a shirt on someone's back to make $1. Like if they can't go up there and make a difference to a candidate or to a company or whatever, and at the base of it, man, they got to be good people. Like we got to.
Well, cultural fit is just so important.
Yeah, well, I kind of like to run with the Craig Bellamy model.
Yeah,
no, we got a no dickhead rule,
yeah,
right?
that's right, no dickhead policy.
Although I'm running the show, like I kind of slipped in under the back fence.
Do you react like Craig Bellamy when he's up there in the coach's box?
Start frothing.
Kicking the chair and punching the water bottle?
That's it.
Steam coming off the windows.
Yeah. No, he was on fire recently. And who have you learnt the most from along the way?
Oh, man. Dude, like Dad taught me so much. Like Dad was a gun dozer operator, like proper, like by far the best I ever worked with.
On the Komatsus?
No, like
Cat as well.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Dad he had it, and again, like I worked for a lot of companies when you're coming through. Like it wouldn't be out of place to have 4 bloody group certificates at the end of the year, right? Because construction, the thing is you build it, you move to the next one.
Yeah.
So, but again, I was given a lot of time by some good old heads.
Yeah.
That when you start getting into a system, an OEM system, and you start going down the track of, like in the CAT system, there's a thing called a CDI, CAT Dealer Instructor Accreditation, right? CDI. I got 10 CDI certificates on different bits of kit.
Yep.
Right. So they run you through your paces and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't learn that stuff while I was working for the dealer. Like that's the stuff that I'd work with for the 20 years prior. Like and it got me to the point. It just got validated.
That's all.
Yeah.
And therefore, you think about it and you go, like what old Ray McGill showed me that time down in Singo around running the bloody loader.
That's why.
Good on Ray. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And with the business side of things, did you just work things out as you went, or have you got a mentor? You obviously you mentioned your mates before. How did that all sort of fall into place?
Yeah, it was more my mates.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did feel the need to get a business coach.
Yep.
And through making some
Mark Walrus?
No, Christ.
Podcast. Yeah.
I wish, mate. Through making some poor decisions around trying to get involved with too much stuff, pushed up hard against bloody some cash flow dramas.
Yep.
Which is a good learning curve because I'll never do it again.
Yeah, no, mate. I can attest. It's of all the challenges in running a business, cash flow probably.
Cash flow,
dude.
Yeah.
And like again, we hear often that from these moments where we're struggling or we're doing it tough, you grow so much, and you bloody do. Because what that forced me to do was approach a customer, a multinational, and go, hey. Can we get an advancement on this next payment, or can we bring can we bring the days forward from like end of month 30 to whatever it was? And he goes, yeah, no dramas, mate. He goes, we know we're not dealing with multinationals every day.
Yeah, just took that initiative, and you're right.
100%,
and what it strengthens relationships as well.
Yeah, and what it did for me though too, Ryan, was it humanised the customer.
Yes,
because you see this conglomerate that sits in behind, and you think, oh well.
Will I, won't I?
Australian Earth's just got to suck it up, and Scotty be better.
Yeah.
But you only like those learned lessons, bloody good ones.
Good ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're on the road a lot. How often are you home on a weekend?
Oh, it's not a weekend.
Yep.
No, when I'm home, I'm home.
Yep.
This year personally has been super quiet, which hasn't been a bad thing because I've been able to focus on the dozer. There's no rhyme or there's no schedule. There's no roster. I know when birthdays are, and I try to do my best to be there.
Home,
But in the past, I haven't. Right. Like when people call, you'll go back to your schedule and you'll have a look and go, yeah, mate.
Do you get much of a lead time when the call comes? Like, is it planned very far in advance? Is it like tomorrow, next week?
So they do their best.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've been asked to do some training in Ghana for July, and they got on the blower in January and said, this is when we want to schedule it. Now, any delivery moves. And we can appreciate that because the lads that have got involved, some of our trainers, they've got a OEM background. So, you know, we understand what happens, mate.
Yeah.
You know, like the schedule, the schedule can change from Tomago to friggin' Singleton.
Yep.
Yeah.
So whether the changes in bloody Ghana, it is what it is. So to answer your question, sometimes we do. And like last year, mate, I got a phone call, can we be in Ghana in like 10 days? And we were able to.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Made it happen.
Made it happen. Yeah. If I always say to them, mate, give as much as you can.
Yeah. I think like you guys now, you know, the C word, COVID, like there was so many shipping delays and things happening in the world. I think that's settled down a little bit now. Like you guys find with bringing in wrecking machines, that might have made your schedule a little bit more foreseeable. And
dude, like that period, mate, it was weird for everyone. Clearly, right?
Yeah.
I was in Zambia when it was all going down, and to a part, I'm glad I was in Zambia because the hysteria just wasn't there.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and I've never been more embarrassed to be an Australian than rock up to work the next day and here's these South Africans going, "What's wrong with you, bloody Australians?" And I had no, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they showed me that picture of those two birds fighting over toilet paper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
why?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but that wasn't over there.
You know, and even when there was the tail end of it, when I got married and we went on our honeymoon, we left to go overseas, and the second we left the airport in Sydney and just got into like the international, I think we went into Singapore, there wasn't even a bottle of sanitizer in sight. Like it actually troubled me. I wanted to clean my hands, but there was just nothing. And all of a sudden you're like, what shit, why are we still in this bubble here?
Mate,
like it's gone.
Get on with it.
Move on.
Yeah, like on that. So I can't remember the timelines. I think I got home like the 26th of March, right? And I actually went and approached the company that I was doing the job for because I knew things would be we were back when we got back to Australia. I said, mate, I'll be prepared to hang around for another 6 weeks, whatever, get the job done. Try and cash up a bit. And the guy that I was directly reporting to, he said, yeah, sounds like a good idea. And then the mine manager goes, nah, you can either go home now or you can go home at the agreed, next week, whenever it was. And my biggest fear was getting caught partway between Zambia and Australia. Yeah. I was thinking, mate, if I get stuck in Dubai, I could just see like thousands being staying somewhere, right?
Oh, sorry, all we've got is the Four Seasons penthouse, mate.
Oh, dude, mate. Yeah. So I was lucky enough to make it home. And then, like you were saying, Ryan, like got back to Brisbane Airport and people got off that plane, dude, and they just went into the night. There was no, where you been?
Is that right?
Absolutely, dude. There was no one with a bloody thermometer gun or nothing. Just see you later. I'm thinking, wow, really? And that was the start of the shit fight.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we're past it.
We're past it, and that, that period, like personally, when I went from traveling the world to coming back to Australia to getting caught in Queensland, and then there was a period there where I couldn't even leave my postcode, right? Which happened to everyone.
Yeah.
That was the period when I went, geez, I need to safeguard like money, like, and hence the reason I started thinking about what's an alternative, and that's where the dozer idea came from. I didn't necessarily seek out to buy a D11. It was just I got a relationship with the two brothers, and
it was fine.
Were you classified? I guess you're working for an essential industry. Your role was essential at that time. Were you able to still get around a bit? Or
I can't remember how that bloody went. I didn't need to play that card, mate, because I was at that stage when I got locked, like, say, when I had to stay in Queensland, it was fine. Yeah. Like, I know my little brother, he was in Melbourne, he was in Victoria, and he was doing a damn job down there because he's in the game too. No, he wasn't.
Oh.
He had the card.
Oh, so he could do anything.
Essential.
Yep.
Did you have to diversify your offering? Did you go? I know you guys do some e-learning stuff. Like, is that when you doubled down? Like, did you do any more around that period? Or no, not really.
Nah, look, we kind of played with the idea of trying to get a camera that we could mount on a helmet potentially, and
and sit in the machine.
Yeah, I was going to be here in Australia, and
I
don't know, mate. It just just petered away to nothing.
Yeah.
Like we didn't, I bought a couple of things for it, but it never really got off the ground.
Yeah.
If you have to look at any benefits from that period, at least it made people
a
bit more forward thinking about like implementing technology and if we had to, how can we still do this?
So I went to Boma a couple of years ago, and there's a company over there called Bauer, and they're into pile driving and pile driving equipment. Like they're a player, man. Anyway, I waltzes up to their booth, and they had the solution that we wanted to try and make. Like they went down the garden path of doing it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like would it work in every instance? Probably not.
Yep.
Would I do it if I couldn't get somewhere for familiarization training? Bloody oath. Send it all across, log on, do your thing. They got the camera on their helmet, or I think it might have been their glasses actually. But it was a cool,
it's funny how much stuff just exists, like on YouTube. You can learn anything. And, even after the last episode we shot here with Buddy, I've never really given a grade at the time of day. And we asked him what his favourite machine was. And I went home and I looked up how to operate a grader. And I just looking at the controls and the complexity of that thing. And I thought to myself, I could get in and drive one, I reckon, after I've watched this video. There's a fair bit out there.
Them old guys using the levers.
Yeah.
Training them to a joystick control. How was that?
That was tough, but it was more. I think it was more about the product though. Like because those machines don't lug like the old ones do, and that's the difference, right?
Yep.
Like it's funny. Everyone goes, "Oh, I'd rather the old one." The old, the levers up here, but once they start running them for a little while, I know my back doesn't ache nowhere near as much when I jump off an M series grader than what I did. Because the way the levers were set up, you sort of forward a little bit.
And that's why, like, we used to sell all these high-profile cabins because all the operators wanted to stand up.
Yeah, really.
And control.
Right.
And then they put in the low-profile cabins so they wouldn't stand up.
Yeah.
Because they were, they didn't want them to stand up. They wanted to sit down and put a seatbelt on.
Yeah. And now you got operator presence where if you jump up out of the seat,
she's shut down.
Yeah, just locks up.
You'd expect it would, like a John Deere ride-on mower has that now. So You're everywhere. You've been to Bournemouth. Where's your favourite place in the world, work or play? Where do you like to go?
Damn, work or play? Oh, dude, there's a lot. Like a lot of my travels, I just wish my wife was with me. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff there that'll just boil the shit out of her. But there's places that you go that you just go, damn, that'd be nice to share that with someone. Yeah, I don't know, mate. There's lovely. There's some places in New Guinea that are just simply like they're stunning, mate. That we probably don't give that place enough credit. Everyone knows about their resources, but if things could change, there'd probably be a really good tourism industry that could happen up in that region. Yep. There's some neat parts up in there.
You've travelled through PNG a bit, haven't you?
Done Kokoda as well.
Yeah,
so
right.
That was cool. Yep. Yeah, it's I was with my brother-in-law one trip, went and done Kokoda, and he walks out of the airport and he goes, "There's blood everywhere." And I'm laughing. It was beetle nut, He's worried there's people laying around and he's shitting himself.
Last episode we pinned Woodsy down because he's told us a few stories over the years of just ridiculous things that have happened to you in travelling to remote places. What's the most ridiculous thing that's happened to you while you're on the road?
Probably nothing too gnarly to myself personally. Like my last trip to Liberia, like last December, I picked up I bought my bloody luggage off the person from the airport. This was after 10 or 13 days. So I didn't have my luggage with me, right? Which is cool.
Yep.
We went to the local market and, Scotty got some new threads. It was great.
Yeah, done that.
Yeah. But there was one moment, right? We're driving back from the mine site, one Arvo. I was in the back seat and the boys are, driving and whatnot. And something pretty gnarly is going down when they start laughing and pointing. And I said, "What's going on?" And they just started pointing in the car in front of us. We're going down the dirt road. It was a good dirt road. It wasn't not too smashed up. And here's this. It's like a bloody. It's like a mid-sized van, and on top there's this big bag and whatnot. And in the behind the bag was someone just grabbing it, and that was their mode of transport to go from A to B.
Oh, hang on,
mate.
On the bag.
On the back. I've seen 3 goats on a motorcycle with 2 dudes. Yeah. What they can put on a motorbike, will blow your mind.
I've only in Indonesia. I've seen a bit of that sort of stuff. It's phenomenal, and you know, my puppy dog's not that good on her feet, but you see like sort of like Chihuahua or something, or just balancing on the motorbike with the woman, you know, flying through the hills and
the shit boxes. And
yes, the shit boxes.
Mate, I kind of like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you see that, you know, it's probably, you know, like there's a lot of poverty and all that sort of jazz, right? But there's also a lot of beauty, and I kind of like drilling into that, you know, whether it's the countryside or it's the people.
Yep.
Because I don't think I've met a bad one on any of my travels, you know. I've met some wankers over here in Australia that you just wouldn't give time to. But, you know, like went over to Tanzania, and we travelled across a part of the bloody Lake Victoria, right?
Yep.
Which, mate, never in my lifetime I thought I was going to bloody, you know, be on a barge going across that thing.
Going across the barge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, you done it, haven't you?
Been there, done
up the
that.
gator.
Yeah.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Gator gold.
100%.
Yep.
And like just on that trip, there was a cool little experience that I was lucky enough to have, because they didn't work on Saturday and Sunday. I had time to fill in, right? And there's one hill, it's called Gator Hill in the town of Gator. There's probably 10 or 15,000 people, Woodsy.
Yeah.
It's a big joint, right? So all I knew is I wanted to get to that top of that bloody hill. And I'm walking through the town, and this young fella, he's probably, I don't know, 10 or 11. He's just sidled up beside me and just started walking with me. And like, we're walking for like 5 or 10 minutes, and he's just sticking with me. So I said, mate, I just pointed. He couldn't speak English. I couldn't speak Tanzanian. I just pointed, and he goes, and dude, he took me up to that friggin' hill.
Up there.
Legit. Like, it was so cool, man. It was
I'm
so
sorry
cool.
to interrupt you, but I've actually put my new mic stand on this morning. I've got no one to blame but myself, and it's come undone here. So we're incredibly professional here on Dirt and All Podcast. So
You done it.
there we go. I did that. Well, look, mate, we're sort of getting to the end of time here. So
cool.
It's been great to chat. Really enjoyed hearing the story.
Yep.
What's next for Australian Earth? What's next for Scott Lidster?
What's next? Bloody hell. Probably there's an opportunity to put a couple more people on, like here in Australia, and there's some opportunity overseas that we're looking at.
Yeah, cool.
We're talking with a mob in Southeast Asia, so you know that may or may not get off the ground, and you know just try and you know get some consistency with the dozer, because you know it's one thing to operate a bulldozer, it's a whole other animal, you know, owning and operating and being responsible for it, and the pitfalls that happen with it, you know. So my reaction to breakage is getting better.
Yeah, right.
When it first started happening, and you could appreciate this, Woodsy, like my head would go to straight away replacement. And like there's some big ones and zeros when you're looking at large iron. Whereas now, you know, we can weld shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can look at other options. There's a good used option out there. That'll work.
Mate, this is it. This is it.
And you keep your costs down, you've got to look at those.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Yep.
Bloody oath.
Keep it that way.
Yep. Yep. No, they're dead right.
The last question we're going to ask everybody when they're on here is, if you could go back in time to the age of 18 and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't be such a smart ass. Nah, look, I don't dislike getting old. You know, like there's a sense of calmness of getting to a point, right? Mate, like I've made some terrible bloody decisions as a young fella, and I don't really want to go back there and do that.
I think we can all probably attest to that.
Yeah. No, look, there was probably being a smart ass at different times. Didn't really probably put my best foot forward.
I can relate to you. I like that. On that note of getting old, one of my best mates, Benny, his old man was telling me about their golfing club. And, you know, everyone sort of thinks, shit, I'm getting older every year. But he was telling me about what they do with their golfing club. He's got, I think, for $50, the bus picks them up in the morning and they jump on, they take them up to a golf course, up to like the Bonneville course. Your $50 covers your 18 holes, your cart hire, a barbecue, your beers on the bus, your beers at lunch and your beers home. And I thought, fuck, if that's what getting old's about, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. I can't wait for that. That 50 will probably be like 150 by the time we get there with inflation. But what a deal. You just don't get that these days. So.
Nah, that's right, man. That's, you know, 100%. Like it's, like I say, it's, you know, in my mind anyway, it's not all bad. Like, you know, I went down to Merriweather Barbs for a couple of laps there yesterday, and there's young couples with little kids that are in the eye of the storm, Yep, been there, can appreciate it. Do I want to go back there? No, I'm pretty good.
Done that task.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, kinda. Yeah.
You're in the Corolla phase now.
Yeah, bloody oath. Corolla Pantera.
Well, look, mate, it's a pleasure.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks a lot,
Cool.
man. Really
Thanks a lot.
appreciate it.
No, cheers,
awesome,
mate.
Scotty. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.